Hi everyone. I did a previous YouTube video explaining how the heal tool for GIMP works, and it was a basic video tutorial on rectifying acne or spots on the face. So it was quite a basic one. I think most people know how to do that once they just, you know, essentially what I'm trying to say, it's a very basic video, and I think I could do a little bit better in terms of expanding on what the heal tool is, how to use it for other applications. So in this case, it will be a video on wrinkle removal and how to use that in terms of creating seamless corrections, non-destructive editing, and pixel match. And on top of that, I just wanted to actually describe exactly how the tool is working and what it's actually doing. I think that's quite important when it comes to understanding the functions of tools and knowing exactly when to use them. So let's start off on how the heal tool in GIMP actually works. So in terms of wrinkle removal, if we look at this wrinkle here and say we want to remove it, you will know in the previous video, which I also have down on the description, a link to it. You select the heal tool, which is this band-aid one. A round circle cursor appears, and the idea here is to select an area where there's no wrinkles. Hit the command key, in Windows case the control key, and then click once on your mouse and then release. Once you move the mouse away, you'll see the area that you selected. What you're essentially telling the tool is you want to use this area to cover up the wrinkle. But it's not just this area on its own. So let's say I'm trying to now cover up the wrinkle. Look what happens to this circle at the top as I'm moving it from across. You see it's also moving. And what it's doing is it's slowly copying the pixels as I'm moving it along. So at the very top here, it moves across. Why is that a cool thing? Is because you could see in the guy's face, for example, he's got more light on this side and darker on this side. So if I was just copying this section here, which is the top circle, and it's just copying the pixels in this section, as I'm moving across, it will stay as light as that. So when I get to this point here, you're going to have a very light section that just doesn't make sense. So it's very similar to the clone, right? If I use the clone one and I do that and I start to do this, you see how it stays bright, it continues bright. You don't want that. So the heal tool, I'm just going to bring the wrinkle back in place. The heal tool will gradually follow the contours of the face in this case, in order to make it look more of an accurate digital editing correction, if that makes sense. So once again, this is the difference between clone and healing. So again, let's just say I want to select this section. I'm telling the tool that this is the area that I want to cover up the wrinkle with. So come along, do that, and slowly but surely it's following the contours and the change in the light from this curvature from the forehead, right? And you could do it another time just to make sure you get as much of the wrinkles away as possible. And that's sort of the digital texture blending seamless correction that the heal tool actually uses. Now there's another thing that I wanted to show as well. So let's say you come up to the image and you're looking at this wrinkle here, and let's just say it was accentuated. Let's say it was a deep wrinkle that you wanted to remove. You can also notice that you're getting quite close to the top of the image. So when it comes to, say, you want to select this area so that when you run your cursor over the wrinkle, it will highlight this area. So let's do that. So here we go. Heal tool. Click once, keep your finger down on control or command, click once on the mouse, and then you'll see that the area selected is highlighted. Now, as I'm going across, watch the top one, right? Watch the top circumference as I'm going across. This top circumference will intersect the wrinkle itself. So look what happens. As I'm intersecting the wrinkle itself, look at the bottom one now. It's actually copying the wrinkle below the wrinkle that I'm trying to remove because I intersected it with the top selection, if that makes sense. So you could see there, let's try that again. The top one is intersecting the wrinkle, which I'm trying to cover up, but it's now copying it at the bottom one. So you could see here, I've just copied the wrinkle from up top and brought it down, right? That's because this one is intersecting the wrinkle itself. The top circumference is intersecting the wrinkle. Now, when you come, the idea here would to, the correction here would just to make the circumference smaller. Select an area a little higher up. So I'll click up here. And now when I cover it up, you could see that it doesn't intersect the wrinkle itself. And you could just keep on going until you cover it up. But let's just say there's a situation where you can't do that. So we'll bring the wrinkle back. What you could do is you could use the lasso tool and basically draw around the wrinkle pretty much as close as you can get without going over the wrinkle itself. And go back to the healing tool and say, we'll make it the circumference bigger. By the way, you could use the bracket key, that square bracket key on your keyboard. One is to make it bigger, one is to make it smaller. So we'll bring it back to the size it was before. And say I want to select this area here to superimpose over my wrinkle. So this area here. And if I now, the top one, I'm trying to intersect the wrinkle, right? If I'm now trying to intersect the wrinkle, as you see here, nothing of the wrinkle has been drawn below. And the reason for that is because I use the lasso tool, and it's basically telling the editing tool that whatever you're copying can only be copied within the constraints of this perimeter that you created using the lasso tool. So I can maybe show a better, more clear example of this. So on a more prominent wrinkle. So let's just say here I select, I want to copy this area here, select that, and now I'm intersecting the wrinkle, and you could see as I'm copying over, the bottom circle is copying the wrinkle. You see that? You see that wrinkle there? I've cleared up the actual wrinkle, but I've actually copied it below. So let's try this again using this lasso tool. Just copy it as closely as you can. I'm just gonna cut it there just to save some time on the video. And I go to the healing tool and say I want to copy this section, and now I'm going to intersect it, and it won't copy it below because, again, as I say, the tool is designed, this lasso tool is telling the tool that whatever you're working on is working within the perimeter of the border, and it won't copy it below it. So this is an idea of how you can combine the lasso tool with the healing tool to try and create better editing in terms of removing wrinkles, right? So it's not always going to work perfectly, but you could see, oops, that's an interesting one. I just noticed that. So I'm saying I want to copy this section of the face to remove the wrinkles. So I click on it once, and it keeps going. But then when I let go of the mouse button, it resets to where I originally clicked. Now, if you could see where my mouse is, which is the circle on the right, if I continue, it will continue copying this section here. I don't know what I'm trying to demonstrate here. I'm just trying to show that this is something that I just noticed. But anyway, if you find that this lasso tool won't disappear because you're pressing escape and it's still showing the border and you want to move away from that because you're now ready to work on another wrinkle, you just press Control Shift and A and it removes it, and then you can start again. So that's basically the tutorial for now, but I just wanted to show another application that you could use the heal tool for. So I'm just going to continue trying to work here just to show you how easy it is to remove wrinkles. Doesn't always work perfectly the first time round, but you could just keep going and you could just remove the wrinkles. So there we go, just like that. This top wrinkle here, might want to remove that too a little bit. That's not always, yep, just there. And you can make the man look maybe a couple of years younger just by removing the wrinkles. And you could just keep on going, you know. It's, for example, over here, you might just want to, see, that didn't work well. So let's try another area. See, that will be a bit harder to do, but you just keep going. Let's try a challenging one. Okay, you see, it took some of the glasses. So just keep your finger going until you get to about that point, because if you continue, it's going to pick up the glasses, right? Because it's copying what's on the top circle and copying at the bottom one. So you just, this is a great example of trying to explain what the tool is doing and how it works so that you can anticipate what's going to happen before you go too far, right? So that wrinkle there isn't a great job, but let's make that smaller, do that. You know, you could just keep on going until you try to fix it like so. Not perfect, but you get the gist. Just keep on going until you get it right. So I hope this has helped. This is just a quick heads up just to explain how the tool actually works so that you can get a better idea of how to use it moving forward. And in the meantime, I'll be looking at other ways to do other tutorials and try to explain the way certain things work and try to help with improving your texture blending or digital editing for your videos moving forward. Thanks guys, and speak to you soon.